Hi all, welcome back to my channel. Itsuchi here. Wanted to start off a new small mini vlog series, just like the last time when I did what was I doing? The polishing. I did polishings parts 1 through 5, I think, which just kind of focused on my efforts in polishing the game, adding effects. So I want to redo that with cinematic jutsu, as the title implies. Do not get too excited. This is part 1 of who knows how many parts. This is not a, oh my god, all characters have jutsu now. That is not what this is. But rather, this is a look into the development process of how we go from no cinematic jutsu in the game, as you guys are very well aware of, to having working cinematic jutsu in the game, and some of the ways I do that. Again, these are just for entertainment content, so you guys can stay up to date with the project, and maybe even, see kind of behind the scenes what it's like in the development world. I am doing screen recording this time instead of a built version of the game, so do mind the frame rate will be not as clear because this is just a screen recording. It's not actually recording frames in the game. But this allows us to look at the editor. Because there's some things I want to talk about in the editor. So let's jump in. This is the timeline. I'll get to that in a second, but first let's see what we've got so far. All right, let's start the game. Okay, we'll just go to a practice match really quickly. You can pick, I can pick any character that I want to showcase this. I'll just pick Naruto and Sasuke because, simplicity. We'll go to the Hokage Monument for simplicity. Also, the game does not run as quickly in the editor, so apologies if there's like slightly elongated wait times like this. It's not super long, it's just longer than the actual build versions of the game because it's the editor. Alright, now that we're in, so this is basically what I've been working on. I'm just gonna use a jutsu really quickly. Yeah, and that's it. It worked, and I now have control again. Yeah, so you can use jutsu with this. This is the first cinematic jutsu added to the game. Now, this is not perfect. I'll show you why. So if I punch, this is what it's supposed to look like with camera shake and things like that. Now, if I try this after doing a cinematic jutsu, this is a problem that's occurred. Yeah. I kind of know what's causing the problem. Basically, when you do an animation, when the animation stops, whatever you were manipulating remains at whatever it was doing on the last frame of the animation. The last frame of the animation had the camera at a specific rotation and position. So the only way to overwrite that, this is true for the characters too that were just animated, the only way to overwrite that is to have another animation constantly playing on top of it. That's why the characters are able to remain remain normal, but the camera doesn't have an animation that's playing at all times. The reason why the camera is even working right now is because I actually edited a small animation to play that just has everything running at the default. When there's nothing playing on the camera, I just put a basic animation to run on the default. But when I do a punching attack, because those defaults are still saved to the previous cutscenes, positions, and rotations, it's causing this issue. The potential fix for it is I think I may just add in an animation to be playing like for everything for the camera, so that the camera's always animated too. It wouldn't be too much effort. The only thing I'm worried about is in the future, if I ever decide to add in more, or when I decide to add in more camera animations, is that going to become an issue having these other ones or not? I don't think it will, but it's very decisions like this, making decisions like this early on that create big problems in the future. So I'm just trying to avoid creating any huge problems for myself in the future, but I don't think it'll be an issue. I'm trying to think as far ahead as possible and the things that I plan on doing with camera manipulation, and I don't think it'll be an issue if I have an overarching animation playing at all times to prevent this from happening. And I know it's the cutscene because clearly it works normal. It's only after I do a cutscene that I get this issue. But yeah, so the whole point of this animation is I didn't want to dive into like creating custom animations, like not custom animations, sorry, doing an actual jutsu from the game, because I gotta then find the correct Wii animation, tweak them to get them working. Then I gotta that was a whole lot of work for something I didn't even know I could do yet. I just wanted to get familiar using Unity's timeline system. So that's the reason why I did this this short animation. Just put together something in Unity Timeline to get familiar with Unity's timeline system. That's basically, Timeline is Unity's cutscene engine. And I wanted to see if I could, the problem is when you make a timeline scene, that's usually designed to be something that's already in the game. Like you load up the scene and it plays the cutscene. I wanted to see if I could figure out a way to get that to work, because that part's easy. I just wanted to see if I could figure out a way, like, can I not only add a cutscene mid-game where I like spawn in a basically cutscene attribute, but also like when you do these cutscenes, they actually have parts connected to them. If I were to like that are from the in-game scene, like. And I wanted to make sure, okay, if I spawn in a cutscene, can I add in the characters that are on screen into that cutscene? Is that possible? Because it's not like I'm just designing a cutscene with characters that are already selected. You know, I could be fighting anyone. I could be fighting a different Sasuke outfit. I could be fighting anyone. So I wanted to make sure I could insert the models that are on screen that are being played into this cutscene and still have it play out. So that's why I wanted to put together just a small animation, and I actually got it to work, where it'll spawn in an animation and then actually it'll, in real time, bind the live camera and the live characters to that cutscene instead of referencing other assets, because I'm not going to create duplicates, you know what I'm saying? I don't want duplicates in the game at the same time. I want the physical models to be doing the physical stuff and the camera to physically be getting manipulated. And that's what I wanted to make sure I got done in this first pod, is can I do that? And that's just been proven. Obviously it has some problems that I've got to fix, but problems aside, the cutscene's working. I got it to spawn in, I've got the camera manipulating, and I got them to return to their positions. I also got it to work to where it doesn't matter where the, sorry for the camera, I'm just trying to get them out of the way. I also figured out, so it doesn't matter where you are when you do the cutscene, it always makes sure the cutscene is played out how it's supposed to be played out from the positions, and you do end up exactly where you were before the cutscene ended. So, so yeah, that's working. So that means the cutscenes are working, and we get to do it, and I should have a fix for this issue. I'll try to look into it when I can. Obviously, I'm between work and things like that. So, but yeah, the first cutscene's working, and then I also wanted to show you kind of from the editor's perspective what that looks like. I guess I can show you an editor view real quick before I close it down completely. So we'll do a focused view. All right. So this down here is the game view. This is the editor. Let me zoom in to our characters. All right. So I'm just gonna give you kind of a overall view of what this looks like. All right, here we go. It's gonna play slower because, yeah. So that's what the full cutscene looks like. Yeah, they're warping around and you just kind of manipulate the camera in positions, because I've got to keep the cutscenes in a small range, because remember, these need to be able to work on any and all stages regardless of size, including small stages. So every cinematic jutsu needs to be designed for the smallest stage. So that's why you'll see things where, like, here, let me see if I can. Yeah, so here, I feel like I actually placed Sasuke too far. I'll have to check on the smallest stage, and what I'll do is I'll create a parameter so I'll know where the boundaries are. This is, again, just a test animation, but I'll make sure I stay within those boundaries. Sasuke might be too far, because this is a relatively big stage, and he's pretty close to that. He's not at the barrier, he's got plenty of room to work with on this stage, but I'm worried that a small stage might cut off, because you don't want this animation on a smaller stage to have Sasuke inside of a wall. But yeah, so this gives, having Sasuke far back on that and Naruto far back on this end gives Naruto a good distance to run. And then when he catches up to Sasuke, I'll warp them. It's a little bit more obvious on a stage that has a big square like this. You may notice like the warping a little bit more. Yeah. So Sasuke obviously got warped here, and I moved Naruto out of view as the camera kind of gives a cinematic shot inward of Sasuke, and then I warped them again, I believe, yeah, to the center of the stage, just so, you know, we get a nice good view of the stage as Naruto's doing the final attack. And it pans out as Sasuke goes flying, and I think I warped them again. Maybe I don't remember. Yeah, I do warp them again. So Sasuke can, again, go flying back really far, but also not far at all. And I warp Naruto just off the screen, but still and I put him back in stance mode, so that way when the cutscene ends, he's in a decent return position, generally relative to where he was when he did the attack. And then, yeah, and then the camera returns to normal. Obviously, watching it in slow motion, you can see all the issues with it. You'll probably see the same issues if you play any Clash Ninja game in slow motion. But yeah, obviously in real time, it looks much better. Yeah. All right, so now what I wanted to go over was actually what that kind of what that looks like, the timeline system, because again, that was what I wanted to test, and I'll show you why I needed to test with the test animation before I started getting into actually creating proper cinematics. So this is my animation, my general animation setup. It's just a white square, some lights, and a general scene. This is currently previewing. Oh, here's my timeline asset. So, so yeah, this is usually what a good setup looks like. Actually, it should be this way. I just have some test objects in here, and this is what a jutsu, a cinematic jutsu asset looks like. So it'll be this dummy 5S. Dummy 5S, so the way jutsu work is when you execute a jutsu, it will have a cinematic string, and that's how the game knows what jutsu to load. So it'll have the player's code and then the jutsu command that they're doing. So since this is a test, dummy just means test. It's like not character specific. Any attack that's non-character specific but coded into the game is always coded as dummy. So this is just a dummy 5S, meaning no particular characters using it. Anyone, it's just a generic move. It also is substituted when there is no move. So if you throw 5S out but you're not playing as a character with a coded 5S, at least in the beta version, it'll throw out a dummy 5S. So that's why it's called dummy 5S. 5 just means no directional input. So, and S, of course, is secret technique or special. So, so when you press 5S, we're just pressing the special button. Obviously, nothing's coded for Naruto, so it'll load in a dummy 5S, and so it'll load in this cutscene. That's why it's getting played. So the way it works is first I added in a Naruto, a Naruto track for Naruto's moves. I don't want to mess with this too much and end up deleting something. So just pretend these bottom two don't exist. So first is Naruto. I wanted to test that. I don't want to have to animate every single motion when I am creating cutscenes. I want to be able to drop in animations and then let them all play in a sequence. And I thought that might be the case, and I tried it, and it worked. It just happened to work that way. Thank you for, what do you call it? Ingenuity, or what do you call it when it's user-friendly, I guess? User-friendliness on that front. No, there's another word for it. When something's easy to use, it's just, you know, any of the basic person can figure it out. That's what it's good at. So what I did was I dropped in Naruto's stance, and it just plays it on a timeline. I can have it play as long as I want to, and I don't have to worry about animating him doing a stance or copy pasting the keyframes. I just drop the animation I've already done, and it's right there and it works. Then I wanted him to run, so I just dropped the dash animation on there, and I made them overlap. You just drag it and it overlaps, so there's a small overlap of the fading. And then it switches to the running animation. And then I also, I do want to just use generic moves, so I decided to use Naruto's dash attack, and I just dragged that animation on there, gave it a little bit of a thing. And what I did was I stopped the animation halfway, and then moved Naruto off screen, and then I start it back up halfway later on. So you can break it up like that if you need. And then I switched back to Naruto's stance, which I elongated, of course, to cover a longer distance. So that's the good part about it, is you can just drag and drop any animation I've already done and put it in there. But these animations don't actually have motion to it, and that's where the second part comes in, which is so helpful. Again, I thought this was the case, and fortunately, it worked. Obviously, stance just is stance, so I haven't told Naruto to be over there, so how to get over there? He should be standing in the middle. Something when he runs, he'd be running in place. That's where overriding animation comes in. This does let me add in additional keyframes that will overwrite the originals. So in this case, I added in some keyframes. Let me see if I can pull it up. Yes, I can. So these are the additional keyframes. So I wanted to turn off the colliders because I don't want colliders causing physics issues during cutscenes. So I turned off all the colliders so they don't the physics engine doesn't mess with it. And I also turned off the physics asset. So this, like gravity and things like that, I don't want gravity to be working while I am trying to animate a cutscene. So yeah, so that's what that's about. So I turned off all that stuff. And then and then I updated the position and the rotations. So I added in some keyframes. So this is what allows Naruto to be in specific places, run in certain directions. That's what all those keyframes down there are for. all the warping and stuff. That's what that's for. And it does not change the root animation unless I need it to. So an example would be like in Ino's special. When the attack lands, she runs towards you and then she kind of throws the flowers out. Instead of having to create a custom animation of her running and throwing her hands out for flowers, I can just drag in in theory, I think this should work too for this level. In theory, I should be able to drag in the dash animation just like Naruto, but then I can just animate her hands for that specific segment to throw out. So I won't have to do a new animation. I can just use the one that's already there and then add an override that will then throw her hands out. And I don't think there's a limit to overrides. Let me see if I can add in another one. I'm pretty sure I can. Yeah, add overrides. So I can add as many overrides as I want in their hierarchy, or they work like a hierarchy. So I can mix them depending on maximum overrides. So the one on top plays first, and then any overrides following after that will obviously override what was before it. I'll get rid of that. So again, even if I wanted Naruto to move here, so you may have noticed, like here at the end, Naruto's feet are kind of bouncing because he's in place, so he should be going up and down. If I wanted to fix that, he's off screen here, so it's not important. But if I wanted to do that without having to modify the original track, I could add another override to control the up and down. So I can get as detailed as I want, and this is all still part of just Naruto's animation. So I can get as detailed or as little details as I want, but also I can also not even need to do much at all if I can just stick the animation here and put it. This will be really helpful because what that means is all the position and rotation data is lost when I bring animations in from the Wii games. I only get the keyframes, so they'll be doing all their motions in place. So all that means is all I gotta do is get the raw animation data from the Wii and GameCube games, drop it on here, and then I can do all the position and rotation manipulation as an override. So this will make, hopefully, in theory, that'll be coming in a future part, adding in cinematics from the Wii games. I should be able to do that a little bit easier now. Well, not a little bit, a lot of it easier, assuming these things work, just by dragging the base animation in here and then manipulating the position and rotation through overrides. And then same thing for Sasuke. I did the exact same thing for Sasuke. I put just in a dummy stance, and then he switches his animation to fly back and then landing on his back. And then, of course, I did all of his motions as well, his motions as an override here. And then finally is the camera. The camera doesn't have any animations that it plays. It's just all manipulation. And so that's, let me double click on it, see if I can open it. Yep, so you'll see here, this is all the camera manipulations for the rotations and switching and all those things. The biggest benefit of the timeline is being able to animate all of this at the same time. I'm not sure if I've ever recorded a vlog showing how I make joint animations like throws. I can't use too many swear words because this is monetized, but it's a disaster. It's so terrible. I hate making, and those are just for super short animations. So this will definitely make it much easier to make joint animations, period, but also those bigger scale, full cinematics, it'll be much easier. And I can add as many of these as I want. So for example, this basic attack only uses 2 characters and a camera. So I only have what they call bindings. I only have 3 bindings. Player 1, player 2, and the camera, which player 1 and player 2 is just Naruto and Sasuke for this example. But I can have it be anyone who's ever using that jutsu. I just plug in whoever that is. I plug it in here, map whoever I want to use player 1, whoever I want to be player 2, and of course at the camera, and that's it. But I can add more of these if I want, and that's how it works. And so so that's how the cinematic works, and then I'll just save this as an asset. I think I saved this one in just the general. Yeah, I just saved this as a general animation over here, but obviously character specific will go in the character files. So that's how the jutsu work. From a programming standpoint, I'll just open this up briefly. I added in a few things. Oh my god, we're already at 20 minutes. I don't want to get too detailed into it, but added in a few extras like force combo. So when I run a combo, that basically just runs whatever character you're playing as, it runs them plus the inputs. So if you're playing as Naruto, to run Naruto and you press 5S, it'll run 5S for Naruto. Obviously, if there's nothing coded, it'll switch to dummy. But maybe I want Naruto specifically to use Sakura's 6B or AB. So with force combo, what I can do is I can give it the character and then whatever form it is. So like if I wanted to do like, for example, Naruto Ultimate Nine-Tailed, and then whatever their combo string is, I can force another player to use a character-specific move using the force combo. This isn't a big need, but basically what I can do is if there's a specific startup attack I want to do, I can just have them do that specific animation without having to copy and paste. I can just tell them to do that one move for this one special reference. So that's really good for startup animations, like when I did do the dummy 5S. If I wanted to test it with different hitboxes and different things, test out different moves without having to code in that move every time, I can just tell it, okay, how would this jutsu start off with the dummy's 6B, or with Sakura's RB, or with Sasuke's 4B, or I can just test them and just change out whatever I want. Let me go down here. So that would be here. So when you run dummy's 5S, it'll first do a startup attack. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get rid of the chakra, we'll start up the attack, and then what we'll do is we'll come back. And then we'll come back after the pause, and then we'll do it again. But this time we're gonna, because you want to start off like, when you use Jutsu, does the cinematic, you throw your hands together, whatever that is, and then you launch an attack after that, which needs to connect. So that's where the second part comes in. And for now, I just have a forcing combo of, I want it to use the dummy's 6B, which is just a generic kick. But I can change this to whatever I want. If I wanted Sakura, I could do Saku P. That's just what I use, Sakura pre-time skip. And I could say RB. And then if I were to save this and run the code, it would actually play Sakura's running B no matter what character you are. So that's kind of what that's for. I'll basically just program any startup attacks for Jutsu as a regular attack, and then I can use this force combo to reference that without needing to copy and paste. Once the move's in, I only need that one reference to the move, and even if it's being started up for Jutsu, what'll happen is I'll run that move, but instead of it acting the way it normally does, I'll change it to a cinematic, a jutsu, and change its properties here. It's obviously not blockable. It's a guard break, which just means like you can't block or guard against it. It's always going to connect no matter what you're doing. And obviously upon connect, and I don't want it to be able to be followed up with any kind of strong attacks or weak attacks or throws. It's only the one move. After that, in case it's linking a mid-combo attack, I don't want it to continue that attack. So just the one move, and that's it. And if it connects, that's where we come down to, I think it's turn off hitbox. Yeah, this is where what happens if it connects. So when it connects, that's just what this means, the hitbox collision. So if we're in cinematic, meaning that was a cinematic hit, then that's where we'll go ahead and do this. So the cinematic bindings, I just added these for the generic attack I told you earlier. So we have 1, 2, 3. The first is player 1, the second is player 2, who you just hit, and the third is the camera. For this one, it'll only have those 3. For like Uzumaki Barrage, we'll have like main Naruto. Then we'll have 4 shadow clones, so that'll be 5 for Naruto. 5 different Narutos, and I'll have to spawn in those clones. We'll have the 6 as player 2, or Sasuke in this case, and then 7 for the camera. So that'll all be set in here. This full code just means who's using the attack. So in this case, it's just the default generic. So in the generic one, I'm going to add player 1, which is me. In this code, I'm going to add the target. The target is whoever is in the player 2 spot, not necessarily your player 2, but whoever you hit. Because, if you're in Royale, for example, and there's multiple characters, someone may just be nearby. So target isn't explicitly who you're locked on to as player 2. Target's who did this attack just hit? That's who we're executing it on. So I'm going to add the cinematic binding to the target. And then after that, after we've hit the target, we'll obviously add the camera in there. And then we'll send all of those upwards so that the game knows what bindings we have. We'll get to that in a second. And then we'll trigger the jutsu that was being played, which is just, obviously, this would be dummy 5S. So that's how that works. Yeah, and then we enter into the cinematic, and that's it. And then we'll run the combo hit in case there's a multi-combo there. And that's it. And we're done here. The player is all set. And then when we send that stuff up, that goes up to our parent object, which will take over. Where does it take over? I'll put it here. So first we get the cinematic bindings again. Like I say, I sent those things up. These are who's participating in this cutscene. That's basically all that's doing. And then we then spawn in the object. So I go through the cinematic jutsu. And basically the cinematic jutsu that matches our string here. So in this case, dummy 5S. Okay, so we're just going to load in dummy 5S. And then all of this, I don't need you guys to understand this. This is just getting all the stuff and mapping in the characters. So we have our P1, our P2, and our camera. So this is making sure that the P1 in the game and the P2 in the game and the camera in the game are getting assigned to that that cinematic cutscene we just spawned in. And yeah, and that's it. And then the stop camera, what I want to do is I want the camera to stop tracking the players, because then obviously the camera will keep moving as the players are moving. So I'll tell the camera to stop its movement. And then what I'll do is I'll destroy this cutscene and then restore I'll restore the camera movement and the player movement after the duration of the cutscene. So if this cutscene is 5 seconds long, 10 seconds long, after 10 seconds or whatever that duration is, it'll then get rid of the cutscene asset, and then I'll send this to all the players and the camera to tell them basically just go ahead and, all right, restore movement, and that's when everything will return to normal. The cutscene's ended, and then rinse and repeat. So yeah, that's how it all works together in motion. So yeah, the code will send everything up. It'll load in this thing in real time. It'll substitute, because in this scene already has the models created. If I were to, let's return to the title screen because we're done here. So if I was to be, let's say, in a scene like this that does not already have those characters on there, you'll see this. There's nothing here, so the cutscene won't work. There's nothing plugged in, so I have to plug that in with live stuff. So that's how it works. Everything works like that together, and that's how we got our first cutscene, which I will play in full time as we close off this video. Oh, discard. Yeah, I don't want to save any changes to the timeline. Alright. I'll pick a different character just so you guys can see it with different people. Can be anyone you want. Let's do some new characters. Let's do Omoi and Karui, because why not? Let's go to a fucking stage. We'll go. What's the stage I haven't shown yet? I guess I haven't really shown the Tanzaku Castle. Omoi and Karui. Alright, yay, Tanzaku Castle. I think I did a pretty good job on it. Anyway, so this would be the Senjutsu. Yep, that's it. Obviously, that issue still happens. But... Now, if you notice, because I plugged in Naruto's stance, that means it doesn't matter who's using it; it'll always be Naruto's stance. Obviously, this is an example animation, so it doesn't need to line up with the characters, but obviously character-specific jutsu will use character-specific animations when I make them. And obviously any variations of that jutsu will be a copy-pasted situation, obviously, where then I would substitute in the correct animations. But yeah, cutscene works no matter what characters you use because it's just a test. Yeah, and that shows the importance of cutscenes, so it's working. Stay tuned for part 2. I don't know what all that'll cover, but there will be a part 2 obviously coming to show progress on this. But yeah, the first cinematic jutsu in the game, they're working relatively well. This does prove a lot of good. It's the proof of concept for a lot of good things. It's fortunately working the way I was expecting it to work, because I have an idea of what could work. I'm like, okay, when I do cutscenes, I hope it works this way because that would be helpful. And so fortunately, a lot of those things, this was positive confirmation on how the system works. It's working the way I need it to work. I got the first scene in the game. I just created a quick scene. I was like, I hope this works. I've gotten the hottest parts of the code done, which is getting the game to register cinematic attacks. Obviously, there's no, unlike, for example, here, obviously when he runs here, there's effects for the feet, obviously not in the cutscenes, so I'll have to manually add in all the effects for the cutscenes, but I also have a concept for that. Again, that'll be a future video, but I have a concept for how that can work, where basically the game will check each frame, and I can add in at specific intervals when to load in a specific visual effect or sound effect or something like that, such as them shouting something. I can load that on a frame-by-frame basis. That's my plan for it. It sounds like something that's simple, but I can do that's character-specific. I can just add in, it's just all code. I won't have to do anything special in the editor, because I was also thinking, like, am I going to have to add in a unique effect like to that and have like just all these effects built into there and then try to turn them on and off at different. I was like, this is gonna get complicated if that's how I have to do it. But I was thinking on it today. I was like, actually, I think I can do all of that through code because all of that spawned through code anyway. So it's like if I can just spawn it at, figure out a way to track where the cutscene is in real time and then spawn them in while the animation is playing, then that could be much easier. I can just do all that through code on a timed basis. I could literally be like on frame 1, on frame 6, on frame 12, on frame 30, and just plot it all in. Okay, and same thing for registering attacks, because obviously they do an attack, but it doesn't count, it doesn't drain health. Same thing, I'll need to add that in. Okay, on frame 42, that's when he attacks and it hits her chest, so I need to add in an attack to drain this much damage. On frame 42, I also need to add in this visual effect of a sonic boom. I need to add in this sound effect for that noise, and I also need to apply a combo hit, like a combo hit was added. So those things will come into play as well. So that'll probably be in part 2, which is getting a full version of this cutscene working with no bugs. And then part 3 will probably be our first Wii game imports. That's probably what I'm planning. There'll probably be 4 to 6 parts of this until we have a full cutscene going. Thanks for watching, guys. Cheers. Stay tuned for more. Have a great one.